So this is the most important parsha in the Torah. The reason is because it's my bar mitzvah parsha.
Mazel tov.
So a few years.
Where's your father? Your father should be here for your bar mitzvah parsha.
He heard my bar mitzvah speech already. Prepared by Rabbi Shor and Cantor Rosen. Yeah.
May the rest in peace.
Amen. Okay, so the parsha starts by Daber Shem Moshe Lemor. Daber el Aaron v'amarta elov. Speak to Aaron, say to him, V'aloischa saneros and mulpanei amnoira ya'ir shivas neros. When you go up to light the menorah, you should light 7 neros. V'yaskin Aaron and mulpanei amnoira hello neroseh kasher tziva Hashem as Moshe. Aaron did like Hashem said to Moshe. V'zeh maseh menorah mikshazav. The menorah was made out of gold. Ad yirecha pricha mikshahi. K'mareh shehera Hashem as Moshe kein asa es ha-menorah. They had, from its base to its flower, it was hammered out, according to the vision that Hashem showed Moshe. So, if you remember, in last week's parsha we concluded, when the parsha kept repeating itself over and over and over and over and over again, about the offerings that the chiefs, the princes of the tribes, the leaders of the tribes brought. So Rashi points out, there's got to be a reason why this parsha of the menorah is right next to when we were speaking about the leaders of the tribes.
The Mishkan, there's all the pieces of the Mishkan, like people getting from this one, some of the curtains, the rods, the fabric, the this, the that, the gold.
So that we spoke about already in Sefer Shemos, right? We talked about that already. So why the menorah specifically? And right after we were discussing the sacrifices that the heads of the tribes brought. So Rashi brings this up. Lama nismacha parshas hamenorah leparshas hanasim. Why do we have the parsha of the menorah right next to the parsha of the leaders of the tribes when they brought their sacrifice? Lefi, because shekashira Aaron chanukas hanasim chal shadaita. When Aaron saw all the leaders of the tribes bringing their sacrifices to inaugurate the beginning of the service of the Mishkan, he got a little sad, a little depressed. He had nothing to do. He wasn't a part of it. Right? This monumentous event in Jewish history, and he's not a part of it. And neither is a Shevet. None of the Leviim were part of it.
Right.
Hashem said to him, Chayecha shalcha gedola m'shalahem she'ad matla kumetiv esaneros. The Medrash says, Hashem says to him, don't be upset. You are going to have what you have is better than what they have because you are going to be lighting the menorah every day. That's why. So, that's what Rashi quotes from a Medrash. Now, sounds good, right? The Ramban says, Velonis barerli. The Ramban doesn't like this explanation. Why was it specifically the lighting of the Hanukkah menorah? Sorry, not the Hanukkah menorah. I gave away the answer. Why was it specifically the lighting of the menorah that made Aaron feel better? What about, there's plenty of things that Aaron did in the Mishkan. He offered the ketores, the incense that were brought every day, in the morning and the evening. You know what?
No.
Wait.
Thank
You want more?
No.
So he brought the ketores every day. Also, the Rambam points out, he brought all the sacrifices every day. And Yom Kippur, that only Aaron could do. Only the high priest could do the service of Yom Kippur, go into the Holy of Holies. Not only that, he brought a lot of the sacrifices in the inauguration of the temple. Right.
Yeah, you can't do everything.
Right. So why? So the Ramban is asking here, why was it specifically the menorah that made Aaron feel better? It can't be the fact that he did it every day, because there were so many other things that he did every day. There's some really good Yapchik Chalent in there. Please enjoy.
Thank you.
So the Ramban says like this: Aval Inyan Ha'agada Hazu Lidosh Remez Min Aparsha Al Chanukah Shal Neir Shehaisu Be'Yisheni Al Yidei Aaron Ivanav Ritzani Leimer Hashmonaik Kain Gadol Uvanav. He says really the reason that Aaron felt better specifically with the menorah is because this parsha is a hint to the menorah that was not the menorah that was lit in the temple every day, but the menorah that was going to be lit at the time of Hanukkah. That it was specifically the Kohanim. Who were the ones in the times of Hanukkah who had the guts to stand up to this nation that wanted to destroy, they didn't want to destroy physically the Jewish people, they wanted to destroy Judaism. They wanted to destroy the spiritual lives of the Jewish people. Who were the only ones that stood up to defend Judaism and Yiddishkeit? The Kohanim, Aaron's descendants. So the menorah here is a hint, is a remez to the fact that Aaron's children were going to save Yiddishkeit in generations to come, and that they would light the Hanukkah menorah. And that Hanukkah menorah wasn't just lit in the times of the temple. The menorah that was in the times of the temple, we don't light that anymore. But the Hanukkah menorah, that we light for all time. And we still light it, even though we don't have a temple. So the Ramban says the reason it wasn't, yeah, it's true, the Ketorahs were brought every day, Aaron brought the Karbanos every day, but specifically the menorah was something special because it represented the menorah of Hanukkah that was going to happen during the time, right? The miracle that happened, and the fact that the Jewish people would be lighting this menorah even when there is no temple for all time to commemorate the miracle that happened through Aaron and his children. They were the ones that said Mila Shem Elai, right? When something happens, who's going to get up and say Mila Shem Elai? We have a challenge, right? Judaism is constantly being challenged. So certain Jews just say, okay, we're going to fail the test. It's too hard for us. What are we going to do? Other Jews say, Mila Shem Elai. Who's for Hashem? You come with me. We're going to fight for Hashem. And it was Aaron and his children that fought for Hashem, the Kohanim. And that served as a merit for them for all time. I'm just going to switch chairs. This one's very squeaky. So now, Rav Ruderman asked another question on this, which a similar question, but more basic question. Maybe this is kind of what you were saying before when you said he can't really do everything. Why was he so upset that he couldn't that he couldn't participate in the inaugural sacrifices of the leaders of the tribes? He does so many mitzvahs, like you pointed out. We pointed out he does the Ketorahs, brings the incense. He does the Yom Kippur sacrifice. He brings the sacrifices every day. He participated in the sacrifices of the inauguration of the Mishkan. So why was he upset? He couldn't do one mitzvah. Big deal. Like you said, you can't do everything.
Right.
So he says like this. He answers that every mitzvah gives a person a taina, gives a person enjoyment, but it's really an enjoyment in the next world, in Olam Haba. But we can't really feel it in this world. When you do a mitzvah, there's a joy that comes with the mitzvah, but an average person, it's hard for him to get in touch with that joy. We are going to feel that joy. When are we going to feel it? In the next world. Aaron, who was a tzaddik, he was able to experience the joy of the next world in this world. Someone who is very holy, who's in touch with his neshama, who lives his life for Hashem and doesn't get distracted by, he doesn't get as excited as I do about the cholent, the good cholent, right? That doesn't interest him at all. He's only interested in Hashem and spirituality. Such a person, he experiences a little bit of that enjoyment of the next world in this world also. There's Rav Aaron Leib Steinman. He passed away a few years ago, 101, the Gadol Hador. He would eat, I think, every day something. He would eat like a few seeds or something, and like some water and like a piece of bread, and that's like all he ate. Not because he was trying to starve himself; he just wasn't interested. Like he ate like.
He wanted to get the pleasure of.
But it wasn't like he didn't want to get the pleasure. Like he didn't get pleasure. He was spent his whole life, dedicated to Hashem and studying Torah. Like it's like not important to him. It's like you get to a certain age, like the things that you did when you were a kid, they don't interest you anymore. So.
Well, people at that level, they all have their own idiosyncrasies in the sense that they all did things. They lived a certain either sparse life or, like a 20 out of 24-hour life of learning Torah. And somebody mentioned that, at Wells Fargo, that there was a place that burnt down. The family was outside, the wife and the Rebbetzin. So the kids asked the Rebbetzin, why don't you go to the BMG and get the husband? She said, well, what for? He said, well, how is he going to help the fire?
Wow.
He could help with the Torah. Someone told this story.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not at that level. I would want to be notified.
It's a pretty wild.
Yeah, there's people like that.
Even make a statement.
Right. Right.
To be at that level as a woman also.
Right.
To say, I really can't disturb my husband, even the house burnt down. It burnt completely down.
Wow.
Rabbi Cullen mentioned that the whole house was destroyed.
Wow.
He passed by the house, he said, when it happened.
It's important to remember that
A couple of weeks ago.
people like that, they didn't get like that overnight. It's from years of working on themselves, you know? It takes years of hard work. Sometimes we get, I don't know, at least I get depressed, you know, you read these stories of these big people, I'm like, I can never be like that. But it's not true. You work little by little, you don't know what you could become.
You can't say that. You know, how do you know, everybody's on a different track. Everybody's going to end up on a different track. And that's how it is. That's how, that's what made the world.
Right. This is said by the Hafla, there's a Gemara. It says, Ki have a mystery abana membe Rav Ami v'amri le membe Rav Chanina, amri le hachi. When people used to leave Rav Ami's house, or some say it was Rav Chanina's house, they said, Olamcha tira b'chayecha, your world you should see in your life. Which means that, like we're saying, a normal person like us normal people, we're going to enjoy the mitzvahs, but we can't appreciate it until the next world. So the bracha that they gave them was that you should even enjoy the mitzvahs in this world. They should affect your neshama and give you that enjoyment that they do in this world, and not just the next world. And that's what we're saying. Aaron, who was this holy person, he enjoyed the mitzvahs. He got that benefit because he was in touch with his neshama in this world, like normal people are going to get in the next world. He says it's like this. If we would get the hana, the enjoyment of the mitzvahs in this world, if a normal person, a non-tzaddik, he said it's like taking a 3-year-old, taking him to a palace, putting robes on him, putting a crown, having him sit on the throne, and having all the butlers wait on him hand and foot. A 3-year-old doesn't appreciate that. He doesn't. It's not a good thing for him. He just wants to go back to his Legos, you know. But he said an adult, that's like the best thing ever. So he says the same thing. Now, when it comes for us to appreciate enjoying the reward of a mitzvah, we're like the 3-year-old. We can't appreciate how great it is because we're so we're in the fishbowl. We're in the fishbowl of physicality. We're in the physical world. We do enjoy that challenge, right? So for us to totally enjoy Olam Haba, we can't really do it yet. A tzaddik though, a tzaddik could really appreciate it. There's another Gemara. It says similar thing. It says, Amar le Rabbi Eloi le'ula. Rabbi Eloi said to Ula, Ki alta lahasam, when you go there, Shal b'shlalma de Rav Bruna, Achi b'mamad kol lechabura. He says, you should ask about my brother Rav Bruna in front of everyone. The Adam Gadolhu, he's a very great man. V'sameach b'mitzvos. Why is he a great man? Because he's happy with mitzvos. Zimnachad at one time, Samach ge'ula l'tfila v'lo pasik chucha mipume kula yoma. One time he davened, he said, Ga'al Yisrael, and then davened Shemona Esrei without an interruption, and it said he was so happy the whole day, he was full of laughter and joy the entire day. Because of the mitzvah, right? Okay, we do that pretty much every day, and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever, yeah. But to him, just doing that little mitzvah of being Samach ge'ula l'tfila impacted him so much that he could feel the ruchnius, he could feel the spirituality, that it affected him, and he appreciated that joy because he wasn't in touch with his physicality. He was in touch with his neshama.
These people, you know, whatever, their world is very different. Like their exposure, you know, because I know families, the exposure is not in the outside world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they never get exposed to these things. So they're so involved in the specific of what they do. They don't have an opportunity to get in there with these.
Yeah, they're not interested. They're not interested in physicality, right? But that doesn't mean that there's no hope for us. It's not like all or nothing. There's so many levels where we could just get a little more in touch.
All or nothing.
What?
I'm saying people at that level, it's all or nothing.
I don't even know about that.
Yeah,
No, they're all. But I'm saying we could get in touch a little bit more with our neshamas than we are now, without having to become like Rav Steinman.
I mean, just case in point, you got social media, you got television, you got radio. You don't have that stuff.
Right. So take one thing away.
They don't even have. They don't want a smartphone. They don't want to be. They want a stupid phone. You know. So I mean, their world. They don't let their world outside this sphere of whatever.
And who do you think's right?
I saw that Wells Fargo thing with the BMT guy.
Yeah, Dear Torah. It was very inspiring.
They're very inspiring.
But a person shouldn't just like give up everything and like live in a hut and just study Torah all day. No, if a person like us would do that, we would go insane. Like, it wouldn't work out. You have to everything.
We were exposed to the other things.
Right, but you have to take.
Were exposed, and they frown upon it. They would never they don't let the gate open. Is what I'm saying.
Right, but you have to take. We can take small steps, right? Just because we're exposed to stuff doesn't mean we have to be exposed to everything, right? You don't have to turn the clock. You don't have to turn it. You start from now. You start from today. You don't have to turn it back.
Change the stripes on the zebra.
No, you can always change. You know the story. You know the story of
It's very hard. It's very hard.
There's a fellow in the Gemara. He visited every single prostitute in the world. Right. The last second of his life, he did tshuva, and they call him rabbi because of that. I think you'll be okay. You don't have to worry about it.
Right, I would say that.
He did tshuva.
I would not come to you know what I'm saying?
He regretted everything. He regretted everything he did in the end, and he did tshuva.
Seconds, you regretted everything. You know what I'm saying?
No, we have to really regret it. You're also not allowed to plan to do that. If you plan to do tshuva after, it doesn't work. So if you're getting any ideas, it's not gonna work. But you know the famous. It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. What are you talking about? That's the Yetzer Hara. It's never too late. Never too late. There's a story with the Vilna Gaon. He was about to die and he was crying and he was holding his tzitzis. You know the famous story. He said, "Man, you know what I get for this tzitzis? The enjoyment and what I get in Olam Haba in the next world. And now I'm going to die. I can't do it anymore." The Vilna Gaon was depressed the last second of his life. Right? It's not the last second of our lives. We're still wearing tzitzis. We could do so many mitzvahs, so many opportunities. That's one of the reasons it says schar mitzvah, because there's nothing greater than a mitzvah. The reward for a mitzvah is another mitzvah. Because the pleasure that a person gets in the next world from a mitzvah, nothing compares to it. And if a person becomes a tzaddik, he can even appreciate it in this world. And that's what I was saying before. People, they live totally detached. It's not like they're shunning physicality. Like you're talking about all these things, Facebook, YouTube. They're just not interested. It just doesn't interest them. There's a story they told about Rosh Steinman again. A lady went up to him. They lived in Bnei Brak, a very, very religious city in Israel. She was upset her husband bought a very fancy car. And he was worried. She was worried that her husband, people were going to get jealous of the family because they have the fanciest car on the block. She didn't want ayin hara. She didn't want people to be jealous. So Simon allegedly said, "Bring your husband in." And he says, "I heard you have this nice car." He said, "Yeah, I want it. It makes me feel good." He's like, "So you're worried people are going to be jealous of you?" He's like, "Yeah, my wife thinks people are going to be jealous of me." He's like, "Tell me, have you finished Shas? You finished the entire Talmud?" He said, No. He said, "Did you finish a Seder? A sixth of the Talmud?" No. Like, how many Masechtas did you finish? Like, very few. He said, "No one's going to be jealous of you."
Very good.
To Rav Steinman, a fancy car, he could care less. Like what? It means nothing, absolutely nothing to him. What's important? How much Torah have you learned? That's what's important. Oh, I'm jealous of you if you finish Shas. Then I'm jealous of you. All right, there's another story with him. This happened to my Rosh Yeshiva and his brother. My Rosh Yeshiva, he has a Rav Aaron Feldman. He has an older brother, Rabbi Emmanuel Feldman. He was a rabbi in Atlanta for many, many years. And my Rosh Yeshiva is the younger brother, but he went gray long before his older brother. So when he was living in Israel and his brother was visiting, Rabbi Emmanuel Feldman was visiting Israel, and he took him to see Rav Steinman. And he said, "Rabbi Steinman, this is my older brother." And Rav Steinman said, "Older brother? He looks like your younger brother." So Rabbi Emmanuel Feldman said, "Oh, thank you for the compliment." That was that. Later on in the day, Rav Aaron Leib Steinman came to my Rosh Yeshiva and he says, "Tell me, I said that your brother looked younger," and he said, "Thanks for the compliment." What was the compliment? He didn't. In his mind, there was no compliment to say that you look young, because being youthful to him, that was meaningless. To him, what's more important? Being an older person who has wisdom, who's learned a lot of Torah, who's done a lot of mitzvahs. That's what's important to him. It's not like he was bashing something. In his mind, it wasn't important to him. It wasn't even on the radar. And we have another example of this in the Parsha. The Pesach Sheni, chapter 9. There's really good shalom in there if you want. I know, so. We're talking about appreciating spirituality as I try to get people to eat my chalents, but I'm not on the level where I don't appreciate chalents. Maybe you are. But yeah. So it says by Pesach Sheni, right? The Jewish people, some of the Jewish people weren't able to bring the Pesach sacrifice. So they came to Moshe. There were people, they were ritually impure. They couldn't bring the korban Pesach on that day. And they came in front of Moshe, in front of Aaron. We were impure. Why should we be punished that we shouldn't be able to bring this sacrifice? Let me go and see what Hashem wants from you. And Hashem tells them we're going to have a special mitzvah of a Pesach Sheni you don't have by other mitzvahs, that you can make up this mitzvah unlike other mitzvahs. And a month later, if someone who was tamei, was ritually impure at the time of the Pesach sacrifice, they have the opportunity to bring it a month later. The same idea. These people felt there was one mitzvah that they couldn't do. This one mitzvah, it hurt them, because their whole lives, we're talking about the people that left Egypt and were actually present at the giving of the Torah Mount Sinai. Pretty holy people. Their spiritual sensitivity was such that they couldn't bear missing an opportunity to do one mitzvah. So they came in front of Moshe and said, why should we lose out? It's not fair. And because of that, another mitzvah was given in the Torah for them, through them. And that's what we're saying. We're saying that, we're not going to be like the people, like Rosh Steinman overnight, that he just eats some seeds and bread and drinks some water and studies Torah for 20 hours a day. But still, when we make our lives that the main purpose of our lives is spirituality, is Olam Haba, it becomes. I remember quote Alan from a few years ago. He used to be an avid football fan. Yeah. I remember he told me it made a big impact on me. He said he started learning Torah. And he just said it just wasn't as important anymore. It's not like he just hated football all of a sudden. It's just like, it's silly. It's like the 3-year-old, playing with blocks. Like, okay, we do certain things. Like when I was.
The Legos are fun.
Yeah, like whatever it is. I'm sure there were certain toys when you were a kid. They wouldn't interest you so much now. It's the same thing. When we get to a certain level, it just doesn't interest us anymore. Why? Because when we put our focus on spirituality, on doing mitzvahs, on learning Torah, growing closer to Hashem, because living the spiritual existence is the real existence. That's really what we're here for. The purpose of a Jew is to serve Hashem, come closer to Hashem. Everything else is just a distraction. That doesn't mean we negate the physical world. The physical world has to be used to serve Hashem. But that should be our goal. And that's what we're saying, that Aaron, why was Aaron so depressed that he couldn't bring he wasn't participating in the inaugural sacrifices that all the leaders of the tribe did? Because Aaron was such a spiritually sensitive person that the reward, the enjoyment of a mitzvah that normal people only feel in the next world, he could even feel in this world. Right? That's like, unfortunately, we don't always feel, that's the point, that we don't always feel the spiritual impact of the mitzvahs that we do. A few years ago, there was a big brouhaha, because in a very left-wing Manur Orthodox school, there were girls that wanted to put on tefillin.
Oh man, you don't do that.
Exactly, you don't do that. So they talked about sometimes the spiritual feelings people have are just aren't real. So this girl said, she felt so spiritual, she felt so holy when she put on tefillin. So my Rishiva said, why do we need sofrim to check if the tefillin are kosher anymore? So give them to this girl. If she feels holy, the tefillin are kosher. If she doesn't feel holy, the tefillin are kosher.
She got carried away.
Yeah, it did. That's another famous story. Rav Soloveitchik, a lady came to him. She said she wanted to wear tzitzis. He said, why do you want tzitzis? Because I just want to feel spiritual. She said, okay, you can wear tzitzis, but you shouldn't put the strings on yet. You should just wear the garment without the strings. See how you feel after a week. So she came back after a week.
You need the strings.
Oh, exactly. So she came back after a week, and he said, how do you feel? She said, I feel so holy, so spiritual, so close to Hashem. Can I put the strings on now? So he said, absolutely not. Your whole feeling was self-delusion, because what you did was a totally insignificant act. It was a meaningless act, wearing a beged without the strings. All right. So again, sometimes, but we're saying that Aaron HaKohen, he felt the real spirituality. Yeah, we have to be careful of that, the fake feeling of spirituality. Sometimes we delude ourselves. But there's such a thing of feeling the enjoyment of a mitzvah in Olam Haza, in this world, like Aaron did. And it's a little harder for us normal people. Okay, before we stop, I just want to mention a little bit about Lashon Hara, because it's the end of the Parsha, and that is something that is very difficult for most people. All people.
Miriam.
Yes, Miriam.
That's
but
the worst sin.
It's a very bad sin. But there's something very interesting what the Chavetz Chaim says about this, which I would like to point out. Okay, so let's just read a few of the psukim. What happened with Taber, Miriam, Aaron, Moshe. Miriam and Aaron spoke about Moshe al-Odos Isha Kushis, about the Cushite woman that Asher Lakach, which he took, Isha Kushis Lakach, because he took a Cushite woman. I don't know, is that proper English? Cushite. Not sure. I'll have to check. I'll check the art scroll.
Does it exist anymore?
Cushite. No, they say Cushite. Kush. Yeah, Kush was like Ethiopia. Could be descendants. Yeah. Vayomeru Harak Ach Moshe Dibur Hashem. Halogam Banu Dibur Vayishma Hashem. Is Moshe the only one who speaks to Hashem? We also speak to Hashem. Vayish Moshe Anav Ma'od. Moshe was exceedingly humble. V'kola Adam Asher Al Pnei Adamo. From every person that lived on the land. Now, what did they say? They said Moshe, when he spoke to Hashem, his prophecy was very unique amongst the other prophets. He had to separate from his wife to speak to Hashem. The other prophets didn't have to do that. Every other prophet besides Moshe was on a lower level of prophecy. They did not have to separate from their spouse. Only Moshe did. So Miriam said that. Why is Moshe doing that? We also speak to Hashem. Right? He's better than us. And then the pasuk says Moshe was exceedingly humble. Right after they say that, it says Moshe was very humble. So I'd like to read what the Chavetz Chaim has to say on this. So he talks about all of the mitzvos that a person violates. Right? There's a couple dozen mitzvos that a person violates every time he speaks Lashon Hara. If you go to eat a cheeseburger on the way home after Marv, you only violate like one or two maybe prohibitions. But if you speak Lashon Hara, you violate a few dozen prohibitions. So this is what he says about this. Someone who speaks Lashon Hara, we are supposed to remember what Hashem did to Miriam, because after this, Miriam was stricken with Saras, and the whole Jewish people had to wait. Right, so a person has to remember what Hashem did to Miriam. And when we speak Lashon Hara, we're not remembering what Hashem did to Miriam.
What about Aaron outgoing?
Right, I knew you were going to ask me that. I forgot to check. I knew you were going to ask me that. We should remember the big punishment that was done to the righteous woman Miriam Hanaviyah. Now, what did Miriam do? Let's analyze what she did here. First of all, she spoke about her brother. No, she spoke about her brother, who she loved more than anybody. She risked her life to save her brother when he was born, to put him down the river. So she loved him. She wasn't speaking about her enemy. And she didn't say anything bad about him. She just said that he is like us. We're the same. He just said we're the same. I'll finish in 1 second. She didn't speak in front of him to embarrass him. She didn't even speak in front of a lot of people. He also, he didn't care about it. That's why it says he was exceedingly humble. He could care less what she said. And nevertheless, she was still punished. So he says, Apple Pekin, right? Miriam spoke about her brother who she loved very much. She didn't even say anything that was that bad, and Moshe didn't care. And she was still punished with Saras for 7 days. She says, imagine what happens when we speak Lashon Hara about someone that we don't like, or we say something really mean, what happens?
Right.